Howdy, Ags. AP here from the Tailgate, home of Aggie football. Brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams. FridaHomes.com. Visit them on the web. Take a look at some of their work. Don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Give us some commentary. Let us know what you think. If you've got some questions, some comments, you would just want to talk some shit, go ahead and email us. Let us know. You can also post on the YouTube channel. Comment on the podcast and the show, and we will try to address those comments on the air. Corey, what's up?
What's up, buddy? I'm just sitting here with my boy. Colton's just in the room with me. He's over here wearing his Aggie shirt, just chilling out. Come here, Colt. You want to show everybody your Aggie shirt? There he is.
There he is. What's up, Colt?
We went to the Aggie practice the other day, and he wore his little Aggie shirt, and he got a little hot, so he had to leave early, but he's going to be an Aggie fan.
It was warm. We did attend the Aggie practice. Colton and Cameron both in attendance out there.
Yeah. Cam's not the biggest fan.
No, Cam will do whatever he can to spend some time on the iPad.
iPad or in the AC.
That is correct. No, hey, I ain't mad at him.
Mm-mm.
Look, man, hey, practice. I enjoyed the hell out of practice yesterday, man. 4:30, man. They went for a lot longer than I thought they would. I figured
2.5 hours.
Yeah. I thought open they may be out there for an hour open or something like that, man. And they went ahead and got after it. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did too. I think they should do it more often.
I really want to thank Jimbo and the staff and the guys for putting on a good show for the fans. I didn't really look around too much. I didn't feel like there was a ton of people there, but man, you can get a lot. You can learn a lot from watching one of those experiences. You know what I mean?
I like not having a ton of people there, man. I thought it was nice. We could actually sit there and get good seats and good parking and in and out.
And space to spread out, man, because a big guy like me likes the little elbow room.
Right.
Little elbow room. So today's show, man, is going to be all about practice, man. It's all going to be all about practice. Yeah, we talking about practice.
Right.
We talking about practice. A couple of first just initial thoughts. Some of the guys, there were some guys out, probably with small injuries. We didn't really get a report as far as, what the status was, whether it was day-to-day. But most of these guys are probably sort of day-to-day. Anais is one of those guys that's been out. He's a guy that doesn't really need the reps. Even not in pads, he was out there getting some mental reps and doing his thing. Actually, he almost looked like a coach on the sideline at times. Foster, another guy that didn't participate, and I don't know that I saw him on the field at all. So he was out. Chappelle, that's one of our starting corners, looked like he may have a little bit of an injury issue. He looked like he was limping a little bit around. Walter Nolan, one of the freshmen coming in, was not in pads. He looked like he was moving okay, so it's probably sort of a minor thing. Marshall, the freshman wide receiver, big-time 5-star guy, also not in pads. But once again, moving around pretty well. Didn't look like it was anything serious. And we haven't got any reports from Jimbo with regards to sort of the severity of that. So some guys that did not participate. There's others. During the practice, it looked like Miles Jones took a pretty good injury. He needed help getting off the field, and they put him in the tent, and they took him in for tests during practice. So, unfortunately, Miles, a guy that's been injured quite a bit throughout his tenure here at A&M. It'd have been nice to have him on the field because of his experience and the ability to sort of get out there and use his length, especially in coverage. But I certainly hope he gets an opportunity to come back, but it didn't look great for him.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a knee or an ankle. I don't know what it was. I haven't heard anything about it either.
Yeah. Another sort of quick observation here. I'm not gonna dwell on this one too much, but Eli Stowers
Right.
is done.
Oh yeah, you kept saying that yesterday. Like he wasn't talking to anybody. He's just in his own little on an island almost.
He was in full pads. He was in the full workout gear. He was at the practice. He did not take one single snap in practice, number one. Number two, the guy wasn't even engaged. It's not like he was paying attention to reps. It's not like he was talking to the other players. It's not like he was sort of consulting back and forth with the quarterbacks, the coaches, anything of that nature. He was off on his own in his own little world. Every once in a while, somebody would come talk to him, but he was really not interested in being there. It didn't look like. I bet he enters the transfer portal, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened before the season started.
Oh yeah, I think it happened before this week's over. Yeah, that's how soon I think it's going to be. He didn't take a rep at all.
No, and even if he's still, recovering from the surgery and injury and everything else, even in those situations, and he was wanting to stay on this team, you'd think he'd be more involved as far as, at least participating in the coaching back and forth, right? Getting mental reps or, something of that nature. But he wanted nothing to do with it.
Well, I mean, he's what fifth on the depth chart right now. It looks like between the quarterbacks. I mean, you got Johnson, King, Wegman, and even who was it? Boast ahead of him.
Bose, who got, he got the fourth team reps all day yesterday, right?
So yeah, I think Eli's going to be gone somewhere else.
So let's talk about the quarterbacks, and let's start right there with the quarterbacks, Corey.
Yeah.
Let's start right there with the quarterbacks because we did see a lot yesterday from the quarterbacks. They, like you said, four guys really taking the reps, starting with Haynes King, Max Johnson, Connor, and then Boast as well. And the way Jimbo does it, as you know, he'll have first team over on this side of the field, second team on the other side of the field, third team with the first team, and sort of the fourth with the third. So he's got two groups going on this different sides of the field. Each of them sort of split up. And I know that he's been rotating the first group, but they do it day to day, not rep to rep, right? So on Sunday, Haynes King took all the reps with the first team, right? Connor took a few because he was on that same side of the field.
Yeah.
And then Max Johnson and Boast were on the opposite side of the field, taking the reps with the second and fourth sort of groups, right?
Right.
And so, but on the next practice, during the next practice, they'll flip that. That's what they've been doing. Mm-hmm. They get backs over here with the first group. They'll take Haynes and put him over there with the second group, and let those guys sort of flip flop a little bit until they make a decision on it. But I thought it was actually already pretty clear.
Yeah,
I thought it was already pretty clear who the starter was going to be and what the situation was going to be with your starting quarterbacks. Corey, I'm going to let you break the news to everybody.
Yeah, it's Haynes King looks like the starter, but I'll tell you, man, the confidence in our quarterback right now for me is not high. I mean, I think they'll be better because the offensive line's better and skill position players are good, but we saw quite a few picks yesterday. The secondary looked good. Secondary looks big and fast. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But
yeah,
quarterbacks were Haynes threw the ball downfield, took some shots, but accuracy still not there. Still looks like he's holding the ball a little bit too long. Just same thing we had questions about last year. We didn't see full pads and no contact, so we don't know if he's going to take off running, how those legs look. But he ran like once or twice when I remember, but nothing like it's going.
Well, and he had a big run in this and that, but you can't really evaluate that part of his
they're not
game
touching
in
him.
this, right? Because they're not gonna hit him. But I will say this, and the reason I let you announce this is because obviously I've been saying Haynes King's going to be the starter since like 6 months ago, right?
Right.
But
like you said, it's day to day. They're switching out every week. We don't know if Max is in there next practice as a starter, But from what we saw,
yeah,
it looks like Haynes. But honestly, I
and
can't
look,
tell.
and I'll say
I couldn't tell you that Haynes looked any better than Max, and Max didn't look any better than Haynes. I don't think they. It's not. It's a clear competition. I mean, it's not. I don't think Haynes, in my eyes, did it. The only thing he did different was maybe throw the ball downfield a little bit more, but his accuracy, it didn't seem like it was there. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of touch on the ball right now. It looks like he's just forcing it in there. And I'll tell you, the best passer of the three is Connor, pure passer. I mean, if you watch him throw the ball, but he's not ready.
look, that's absolutely true. Look, Connor is the most natural thrower of the football. He's also a really good athlete. Maybe not quite the Haynes King level of athlete, but he's pretty darn good athlete.
Yeah.
And he is the most natural thrower of the football. So early during drills, when it was wide receiver, and one quarterback, and they dropped back and threw the pass, Connor
Right.
looked really good.
Yeah.
I mean, because he got the ball there, it had nice zip. And you can just tell it's sort of effortless when he lets it go. It's a beautiful thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
As those drills progress to 2 wide receivers with a read, to guys on both sides, to 7-on-7, the team, Connor took a step back a little bit because he still isn't fully ready to go through the progressions, and he's not as comfortable with the playbook. You can tell. Because all those nice, pretty passes, all of a sudden there was some hesitation in his throws, right? There's hesitation in his throws. He's a little late, just like the rest of those guys. He also, all of a sudden, is not quite as accurate because he's thinking. So I think Connor, ultimately, as we've talked about before, is going to be the guy. But I just don't think it's this year. I think it's next year. Once that guy is 100% immersed in his playbook and understands the reads, is comfortable doing all those things, I think he's your guy.
I agree with that totally.
And for now this year, I think it's a 2-man competition. I think it's Max and it's Haynes. And one of those 2 guys will be your day one starter. And the reason I say it's Haynes, and 100%, there's still a competition going on out there. I just don't think it's going to change. The reason I say it's going to be Haynes is for 3 reasons. 3 reasons. One, he knows the playbook better than anybody else. Period. That is clear from yesterday. He's organizing the offense. He's comfortable in the huddle. He knows where people are supposed to be, moving folks around, doing all those things that you see a quarterback that understands what's going on does, right?
Mm-hmm.
2, the message that Jimbo and his offensive guys have been sending all offseason is we're going to be more explosive. We're going to put the ball down the field. We're going to do all these things. And the guy that does that is Haynes King. Max Johnson is a guy that's going to throw the ball underneath. He's going to be accurate. He's going to try to get the ball to his playmakers quickly. He did not, but maybe once or twice, try to get the ball down the field to a receiver. There were several opportunities for him to do so, and he wouldn't do it.
Right.
Haynes, on the other hand, there was a couple of times when he probably shouldn't have. He still didn't. It didn't,
Right.
But at the end of the day, he's the only one. He's the one of those 2 guys that's going to be able to do what Coach Fisher has said is his goal for this year, which is to be a big play offense, right?
And Coach Fisher says that, and that's all Coach Fisher talking. But Coach Fisher has to show us. It's not so much. I don't think it's the quarterback. I think it's Coach Fisher's offense is why we're not going downfield. It's not. We've had different quarterbacks in the system,
but the third thing, which I also think is a big one, is he's going to create big plays with his legs. And I know that we all saw Johnson run during the spring game. Trust me, that would have been a different result if it was live and he were able to get hit. He wouldn't have been running like that. Not a chance. Haynes will create big plays with his legs throughout the season. Those are the three reasons. And I agree with you. Jimbo's got to do something to help him, right?
I mean, I'd like to go see him practice again. I wish they did that once a week and did it with the different quarterbacks and the different opportunities because, I mean, listen, I like the way Max does look. I think he does a quick progression check. Maybe Haynes. Haynes, I didn't see it as much. I don't know if you did. It seemed like Haynes already had his mind made up when the ball was snatched where he was going to do. That's the only thing that makes me nervous. Like you said, he took some shots downfield.
He's already read the defense by the time he takes the snap. That's why.
Well, I hope you're right with that. I hope he's already read it, and I hope he's right and makes the right decision because, we got some talent on that defense, but I don't want to put them in bad situations.
No, and one thing that you said earlier, and I think all three of these guys did this, and especially they all did it as things progressed from a one receiver read to a full field read, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's at times they were all late on their throws. So in a situation where they don't see it right away, all of a sudden they're waiting for receivers to get open sometimes. Mm-hmm. That applied to Max. That applied to Haynes as well. And Haynes has got to get a little bit more consistent about getting the ball out at the top of his drop right when those guys are breaking, not after they break. They break and they come open, right? That's too late. So that's definitely something. But we're a week into practice. So it's probably pretty common to be in that situation, right?
Right.
You said it too. They all threw interceptions. They all
did. They didn't just throw a interception. I think they all threw a couple interceptions. I mean, the way it was looking, it was balls that were forced in that shouldn't have been thrown. And Jimbo blamed it on the receivers, it looked like, but I'm sure it was quarterback issues. I mean, it was a bad decision.
Two things.
One of them did hit a player's helmet, or a defensive player popped it up in the air. I think either against Connor or Haynes. I can't remember which one that was, but I remember that happening.
Yeah. And two things with regards to that, Corey. I think one of the things that I do like about Haynes is he gives his receivers a chance to make a play sometimes.
Right.
Versus a guy like Max Johnson, if it's a one-on-one coverage, but the guy's there with him, he's not going to throw it, right? He's not going to throw it. Where, we saw on several occasions yesterday, Haynes saw a one-on-one matchup. Remember the throw to Green, the freshman tight end, right over the middle of the field.
Oh, yeah.
He just, he was covered.
Yeah.
He was covered by somebody looking the other way that was about a foot shorter than him, though, right? And Haynes put it exactly where he needed to, up a little high, to where this guy could use his body and his hands, and he didn't make the catch. But to me, that's a perfectly good read and throw.
I'll tell you, that Green kid, I was very impressed with him. Very impressed. But
so on that note, let's move into the rest of the offense. I think, quarterback wise, the one thing I will say is I, like you, also believe that in reality we could probably play any one of these three guys as long as Jimbo sort of takes care of them and the rest of the players around him sort of take care of them. So let's go to the players around him.
All right.
First thing I'm telling you is, dude, this roster has tons of talent. The athletic ability on that field yesterday was out of this world. At running back, at wide receiver, at tight end. Oh my goodness. Those dudes were legit.
Yeah, I'm talking they could move, catch. I mean, God, that kid Green at tight end looked really, I was really impressed with all the tight ends, to be honest with you. I mean, how big they looked, how fluid, and, that kid Green, for the most part, he was real fluid in his routes. But all the wide receivers, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get all those wide receivers on the field. They got so much talent at wide receiver. That kid Marshall didn't even dress out yesterday, and he's coming in.
Even in street clothes, that kid looks good though.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he looks tall, lanky. I mean, not real lanky, but he's got, just a freshman. Oh, I mean, I think I bet we have 7 or 8
I,
receivers, maybe
I'm,
9
I'm
receivers that are trying to vie for playing time. It's going to be hard to get all those guys on the field.
I was, and we'll get to the receivers. I want to start with the tight ends that you brought up. I want to start with the tight ends
Yeah, go
because I
ahead.
fully 100% agree with you, man, on these tight ends. Unbelievable size in that group. I
Yeah,
mean, those guys, Jake and
Green,
the
Swede guy,
Aussie or
Aussie, yeah.
The Swede guy, right? Uh, Theo, right? Those two dudes are huge,
Another
huge.
one.
I mean, Jake Johnson looks like a Gronk type receiver, dude. The guy just
He
stands out amongst all
I
of them.
agree with you about him standing out. I just didn't see his hands in there like I did with Green and those other guys. I don't know if I had my head turned watching the other players whenever he ran his routes. I mean, I saw it looked like he didn't run the right route one time, and Jimbo got on him. He like made a second cut that he wasn't supposed to. But
Well,
I
and
was more
they're
impressed with
freshmen,
Green.
right? I mean,
Yeah, he's a freshman. And that Aussie guy, is he a freshman?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
That dude's huge.
The
I mean, he
Swedish
is.
guy, Swedish guy.
He's right there with he's right there with Johnson, man. He's big. And even those other tight ends that like didn't don't get a lot of
Yeah,
news,
yeah.
they're big. I mean, Smith and Wright, who played last year, but Smith was big. There's a couple other ones. I mean, geez.
Right is clearly their number one guy in the sense that he's going to be the blocking guy, the reliable guy, the guy that they're
Right.
going to get after. But one of those guys is going to get on the field with Wright to be the more explosive, big play kid on the receiving end of stuff, right?
That's definitely
One of those
Johnson or
guys. And I'm
Green.
thinking probably Johnson or Green. I think Theo probably needs another year to get used to the American style football college. He's coming from Europe, right? I mean, there's a big difference from even the high school ranks here to what he was probably competing against
Was he number 86?
there. 86. Garza,
Who was
another guy
82?
that was on the field, huh?
Who was 82?
80, Garza,
Okay.
another guy that was on the field a bunch yesterday, had some good reps. Blake Smith, another guy. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's sort of what I'm talking about with this tight end group. As at the end of the day, there's just a ton of talent at that tight end
I
group.
mean, it's almost like having 2 different teams, man. You can almost run 2 different offenses. And I'm not talking first team, second team, but I'm talking like a 1A and a 1B. Like Jimbo could almost be like, all right, y'all get out and let's rotate the next offense in. I mean,
Just
it's
keep them
crazy.
fresh because they
Yeah,
don't.
keep
It
them
doesn't make
fresh.
a difference.
Seriously.
I was thoroughly impressed with the size of that group, man. I was impressed with the number of quality options out of the tight ends, and I think that's going to be a huge part of obviously the program going forward and everything that they're doing. Like you said, Green is absolutely a natural pass catcher and route runner. I mean, he looks
Right.
smooth out there. He looks smooth.
No, I agree with you, man. His hands look soft. He ran good routes. I mean, he's got speed. Um, and then Johnson, like you said, I didn't see it in Johnson as much as I did Green. I mean, Green looked like he could almost be a wide receiver. I mean, he looked so good in his routes. Now, he didn't look like Stewart.
I thought Johnson looked excellent, and I'll tell you this. I really did. I kept thinking, man, this guy just reminds me of Gronk.
Yeah,
What
you
a
said that quite a few
monster.
times.
What a monster! Like and knows how to use his body when trying to body up defenders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and
That's
get
going to
to
be the big thing.
get the ball. I mean, just I,
And that's going to be a big thing with
I was
quarterback
impressed.
play if they know how to get him the ball when he does body it up. Because you got to throw the ball
Like
to a
that.
spot. It's not so much, you know what I'm saying? You're not,
Yeah, use the size.
yeah, it's like when a guy posts somebody up, you throw it to his hand and not his, not right to his body.
No,
And that's,
absolutely.
I didn't see a lot of that yesterday. It seems like some of them were rushing their throws. If the defense would have been live and
No,
hitting those quarterbacks, I think a few of those.
I just
I
talked
think,
about one time when Haynes King threw it to Green using his body, and Green couldn't make the catch. So
well, Green, I hear you, but yeah, I think, like I said, I don't think Haynes puts a lot of touch on those balls. I think he zips it in there. A lot of what we saw with Calzada last year. I'm worried about that. I'm telling you. That's what I saw.
Here's the one thing: that ball didn't need a ton of touch because it was right in the middle of the field. It was a pretty tight window, but I thought it was the right read.
Well, you got to throw a catchable ball. That's something they've always said. You got to throw a ball that's very catchable.
So let's go.
And Calzada didn't throw a catchable ball last year. Huh? What's that?
Let's move to the other pass catchers. I thought it was a great throw.
All right.
The wide receivers, my friend, because you heard me. I was like gushing about one guy in particular. Do you remember who that was?
Well, you're real gushy about Oddchain for a long time. But Evan Stewart, you talked about Stewart a lot.
In Texas, my friend.
Huh?
Rain in Texas. Something.
I know your screen's getting all. I can hardly hear you or see you. To be honest with you.
There's rain going on out here in Texas.
I think that's hurting your internet connection.
Yeah, it's probably the rain.
Seriously, I mean you're blurred out, and I can hardly hear you.
Very likely.
But no, Evan Stewart looked good.
So
he's quick. I mean, his in and out of his cuts is quick. But yeah, there's a bunch of receivers, man. I'm talking. We can go on and on days about these receivers. They're impressive. They're the best group I've seen.
They are impressive
since I've been around.
Evan Stewart is a difference maker from day one. You can see it on the field. He's fast over the top. He's fast underneath. He's sudden, quick. Everything's on a dime, man. Everything's on a freaking dime. And when you see him practice, he does everything with purpose, right?
Right.
Everything is done with purpose. He's very exact and precise in what he's doing. You know, I am impressed.
If you had to compare him to a receiver in the NFL, who would you say?
Receiver, because you don't see guys show up and do that.
Who would you compare him to in the NFL? I got a guy in mind, but I don't know if you agree.
You know, I don't know. You know, I hadn't thought about it too much. Who are you thinking about?
I'm thinking Tyreek Hill, just the way he bursts and he stops on a dime and he makes a cut and he's right there. Because we watched him do those comeback drills, the way he stopped and came back to the ball.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. He doesn't have the top-end speed, I don't think, that Hill has. But he is very quick and, you know, jittery.
Yeah, I'm not sure that anybody on the planet has the top-end speed that Hill does.
Yeah, that was pretty sick what that guy could do. But, yeah, I mean, he looked great. I didn't see a whole lot of Muhammad yesterday that I wanted to see. I watched Jalen Preston a lot. I thought he looked good, but he was on like the third team or something, playing with the third team guys. I don't get it. The second team. He was on the second team, I guess. It was second team with him and Max.
Yeah, Jalen made some catches with that second group because he was really their only wide receiver out there as far as sort of, you know, one of the first guys, right? And Moose made some catches, but it was in some of the drills earlier on before they were in team. You know, I thought Moose actually looked pretty good. He competed very well for the ball. He had a couple of drops at one point, but he still looks like a guy that probably has the best hands out of anybody in the team.
Yeah, they let him go. Chase Lane, he just seems like Chase Lane. You know, I think he's going to be the odd man out, just talent-wise. Price, I thought Price had some decent catches. I didn't see much out of Noah Thomas. I didn't see him do too much, but I heard Texas talking about
balls, but every time he catches a football, you know, he's still going through the thought process because every time he catches the football, he falls.
Right.
So he's really focused on making the catch.
But there's so many receivers. Who are we leaving now? I mean, there's some people we're forgetting to talk about, I'm sure.
I'll say this: Chase Lane, Jimbo loves that guy. Jimbo absolutely loves that guy. He will be on the field because he is Jimbo's guy. Even if he's the worst athlete out of all of them, it doesn't matter. Because he's reliable.
Now, Jimbo had 4 receivers out there with Haynes. Who were the 4? Do you remember? I know Thomas was one. No, I think Noah Thomas was on one end, and they had Stewart on the other, and then they had Anias. Anias wasn't playing. Keith Brown was out there, and that was Price the other one?
I thought you could see Keith was a guy that, you know, he's got some athleticism and some of those traits that, you know, an Anias Smith has, for example.
Yeah.
But he just didn't look good yesterday. Like there was drops, there was like everything was just a little off. You know what I mean?
Right. But yeah, not having Anias out there,
Who
it
else
was a
was
little
with it?
bit.
Well,
You couldn't really see the
they
whole.
always have. Right. So I still think that depth at wide receiver is going to be as strong as it's been since Jimbo's been here, and a lot longer, right? And the playmaking ability is going to be there. I like what Preston showed. He is physical. Him and Price, I think, are similar. Obviously, Preston, an older guy, Price a little bit younger, but similar in the fact that they're physical receivers and aren't afraid to do things in traffic, right?
Right. Oh yeah, I mean, I think Preston. I mean, is a little bit quicker than Price. Price is just bigger. Price is a taller, bigger receiver. But I mean, man, I've liked Preston for years. I've been high on that kid for 3 years now, I think. And so he showed up in that LSU game last year. So let's see if we can keep it going.
Let's see. Yeah, hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully he gets in there and gets plenty of reps. So at wide receiver, like I said, a ton of guys. Tailback, and you said it earlier, and you could have called him a wide receiver yesterday. Devon Achane is a monster, and he's about to have a freaking amazing year. He looks phenomenal, my friend. I was most impressed out of anybody on that field with Devon Achane on offense, period.
Oh, on offense, yeah. I think offensively, yeah, he when he trucked down, he did the Metcalf on that interception. That was pretty impressive watching him run that guy down. But yeah, I mean, he's running routes. I mean, he looks smooth coming out of the backfield, lining up as a receiver. His hands look soft. And when he gets the ball, he doesn't think. He just goes. He knows what to do. It's not like, what now? It's see you later.
Boy, it is natural. It is smooth. It is fun to watch. And you get him on the open field. Dude, I think you missed this one. But they lined him up at a receiver spot. And he went just go route. And little hesitation. And he ran by the corner. And so smooth. That guy had no chance. And you're talking about a guy that's a defensive back, and he didn't stand a chance. When they threw the ball, he caught it nice and easy over the shoulder, and he looked like he was jogging into the end zone, and the other guy's like falling behind,
Yeah.
You could line him up out there and just do that with him all day long because nobody can keep up with that speed.
Exactly. I mean, do it till they fix it, and then you hit them with something else. But I'll tell you, I mean, all the running backs, Daniels. Daniels looked pretty good.
You did see the other one where he got wide open down the field on Cooper on that wheel route, right?
No, I didn't see that one. I had to take the kids home.
Well, no, that's when he underthrew him. Remember, he was wide open down the field, and he underthrew him down there on that end zone.
Wait, is that when Cooper intercepted it? Cooper intercepted the ball in the end zone? Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I was in the – yeah, because he had a step or two on Coop. He had a couple steps on Coop.
Oh, he'd been open for 10 yards if that ball had come out like a minute earlier.
Yeah, but Coop made a good play.
He did. And we'll talk about Coop.
But no, I mean, I thought Daniels looked pretty good out of the backfield. L.J. Johnson, and who was the other Crownover? Crownover and Johnson are a lot of the same running back. Two big guys. They're going to run over some people. That Daniels kid impressed me out of the backfield.
I'm impressed. That running back room is not going to miss a beat.
No. Yeah. Not at all.
That running back room is not going to miss a beat.
Don't get me wrong. Spiller was great.
They've got depth.
Yeah. Talent everywhere. And who was that other kid, the young one?
I'm with you, man. Impressed. And Moss. Yeah. Moss looks like he may be a year away from getting a ton of reps here, but he looks the part. So another guy to sort of look forward to here in the next couple of seasons, Le'Veon Moss.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up on offense with the offensive line. Look, they had a number of guys that didn't participate. It looked like on offensive line, it was hard to see exactly who was where because a lot of the guys had their numbers sort of covered up and tucked in, but and they were oftentimes on the far end of the field, right? But when they got into some of the team stuff, you could see who sort of was in that first group. Wyckoff was working with the first group at center and looked really good, by the way. But it seems like Foster's got something he's dealing with. The reality is that the thing that I kept trying to focus in on is what's going on over there at the left guard. I think everybody knows Layden Robinson is your guy at right guard with Fothery over there. Those guys have been working together for a season now and look good doing it. You've got Trey Zune at the left tackle spot who looks like a monster, by the way. The guy's big, he's athletic, he's looked excellent. The question is who's going to be paired up with him there at that left guard. And yesterday we got Aggie, but then I know that Moko's in the mix, Trainer's in the mix. Is a guy like Wyckoff or Foster who doesn't end up at center in the mix, one of those guys. But they've got bodies. Who's going to take the job?
I mean, right now, I don't think it's honestly, I'm not too worried about it because we look like we have more depth at the offensive line than what we have in a while. And all those guys look pretty good as long as they stayed healthy. I think one of the freshmen, even that freshman that was huge, that walked off the field.
Dewberry.
God, that kid was huge. Yeah. I mean, he looked like an animal. And who's 78? Is that Zune? Who's number 78?
No, 78 is Crownover's the Crownover brother, the big Crownover.
He didn't look too bad either. I mean, body-wise, he looked good. He had long arms.
And he's got some good feet. He's athletic.
Yeah. What year is he?
He's got to work on technique because he's moving in. He used to be a tight end at one point.
Well, he's a big kid. I think he has a good future if he keeps working. But, yeah, they
Hunter Erb, the other one. You remember the other one that was playing some left tackle with the long hair? That's another freshman, Hunter Erb.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I remember the numbers better than I do the names.
Big body. I mean, size is not an issue.
No, our offensive line I think will be a lot better this year. And our offensive line coach is very active, very up in their face, getting after it yesterday. I like what I saw. Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. I thought, they're still working on technique and different things. You can tell that there's some things that they're still, trying to put together as far as some of the double teams and different things. It's only a week into practice. That's very normal. But, buddy, the physicality was impressive to me, right? The way they were practicing and the physical nature of how they were getting after it. And they were going up against the first-team defensive line guys, right, in drills. And, boy, they were holding their own a lot of times. I was quite impressed with the offensive line. They're not where they need to be yet, but I think they – look, ultimately – size, athleticism, the speed, whatever you want, that offensive group has it. The only thing you got to worry about is Jimbo's play calling.
Yeah, we got a lot of future pros out there on offense right now. It's just a matter of Jimbo using his head and not getting in his own way.
All right, so let's shift gears because I want to get to this defense, which I think, you hear us talk and you think you sort of hear how impressed we were with this offense. But I think more than even that, we were impressed with this defense.
Yeah.
And Corey, there's a guy you named right from the beginning and you said, wow, dude, what was your first impression?
You talking about which one, McKinley Jackson, or are you talking about Richardson? Because both of those guys look good.
There you go.
Which one, Jackson or Richardson? Because they both of them look good, man. They both look better shape. McKinley Jackson, man, I think that guy's going to be a monster this year. I think he's going to be – I think he sees the writing on the wall with all these new kids they brought in, and he's ready to, be the big bear in that room. He's going to take control. And then Richardson and Johnson back in the safeties, those guys, I mean, I told you yesterday, it's like they look like – we got two pro players just playing this year because, I mean, just their bodies, their arms, their shoulders, you could just – the way they carried themselves, very impressed. And I think each one of them might have had a pick during the scrimmages, and they were very impressive, man. That Our secondary's got depth. Our D line has depth. The one spot I didn't see a lot of depth was linebacker, but we'll go more into that, I'm sure, because Cooper and White. Especially Cooper, looked better than White yesterday. But a lot of looking good, man. Defense looks very good. I mean, we lost a lot last year, but trust me, we're not far behind if we are.
So let's start with that secondary. I'm with you, and the one thing that I will say is this, right? Everybody is super, super excited about this recruiting class, the number one recruiting class in the country. You know, all the big guys, the defensive line, yada, 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 even guys in the secondary, right? And don't get me wrong, those guys look great. They're going to be part of this team. They're going to be contributors in time. But there is a difference. There just is. There's a difference in the body of one of those athletes that's been in that program for 3 years, 4 years, compared to those freshmen. Absolutely. Walter Nolan is sitting on the sideline, and you can see Walter Nolan's body, right? And he's a big guy, but he doesn't have that definition, just the Dindy's another guy that was on the sideline with no pads, right? And he's a guy that's even well-defined to a certain extent, but he's not the same. You compare him to Damani Richardson, that's a safety. Damani's shoulders are bigger than either one of those two guys. His guns are bigger than either one of those two guys. And he's a safety.
Right.
But he's a senior, right? And you can see it throughout the roster. Those guys that have been there for a couple of years, McKinley, right? Rakes, another guy that looked really good yesterday. You know, but you see those guys that have been around, and their bodies are just different from those guys that just showed up. And that is all over the country, right?
Right.
It just is. That secondary, to me, was as good as a secondary as I've seen ever.
Seriously,
I was so impressed.
Very athletic, they're taller than when I thought they were, man. They got a bunch of tall guys out there in the secondary. I'm talking like a bunch of Steve Atwater. Like, that's what Johnson and Richardson remind me of, is like a Steve Atwater, a big safety, the ones that used to wear those big shoulder pads and hit people. And these guys, man, we got a bunch of linebackers, potential linebackers playing safety. Even what's the kid's name, number 20 that you were talking about? He's a big kid. Yeah, he's big too. I mean, you throw in the Joneses, and they're not small. They're not short guys. You know, they might be a little thinner, but you know, we got a lot of height out there. So if you got jump balls coming up, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to. I mean, a 6'3" to 6'5" receiver shouldn't have too much of an advantage on this secondary.
You talked about Damani. I mean, and I fully agree. And Damani looks great out there. He looks like he has now taken the reins as leadership on the defense. You can see it. You know, the guy was out there all over the field. However, the guy that impressed me the most is still Antonio Johnson. He's still our best player on defense. The guy's our best cover guy, and he's a safety nickel guy. He was stuck to receivers out there all day long. I mean, they couldn't get a foot of open air with that guy on. I mean, and he did it to all of them, man. I was incredibly impressed by Antonio Johnson and what he was doing from that nickel spot, and I expect him to have a monster year to the point where he's going to be a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think Richardson also is going to be up there in the draft somewhere. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I have to watch how the season plays out, but just looking at him on the field, his body, I think he's going to get drafted somewhere. Like I said, I mean, we're looking at future pros right there. But man, our secondary is something to be excited about.
And to round out the safety group, you know, I've been talking for a couple months, like who's going to be that third safety to take that spot that Leon left, right? Gilbert impressed me yesterday because he looks like he's been working his butt off throughout the offseason. Man, he looks a lot better than he did even in the spring. You know what I mean? Body type and just knowledge of the playbook and how he was moving out there. He was covering folks, and he was doing a really, really good job. I think they found their guy.
Right. No, I agree with you. I like what I saw in the secondary a lot. I like it. You know, it's crazy. We're talking about experienced guys. We're not talking about a bunch of freshmen. And We're talking about experience. I mean, same thing with the D-line. I mean, what we saw with the D-line yesterday.
Before we
McKinley
get to the
Jackson.
D-line, let me mention one other guy because in the second, obviously, hey, look, and Jaylen Jones was definitely a big part of what they did yesterday. Yeah. He's not their best cover corner, but boy, he's big, physical, and he does that part of the game. Chappelle was not on the field, who's probably going to be starting opposite him. But another guy, a young guy that did look really good, and I was very, very impressed with yesterday was Bryce Anderson. And he sort of stood out to me in the spring as far as the young guys as well. But, man, he locked that up yesterday, man. He was doing a good job.
Right.
So let's move up front because there's the other side of this equation, right? We always talk about the coverage, but at the end of the day, you still got to put pressure. First thing you notice is there is a lot of big bodies out there.
Yeah.
Just a lot of them.
I mean, there's a lot of big bodies, but I swear McKinley Jackson stood out just like you were talking about, being in the third or fourth year in the system and your body. I mean, yeah, he has a little gut on him, but he's tight, man. That guy is strong. I mean, you can see his arms, his shoulders, him and Rakes. Rakes, I thought looked pretty good too. I mean, that defensive tackle position, it's gonna be a bitch to run against those two up the middle.
Look, we've been talking about it all offseason. McKinley Jackson's got to take a step forward this year. He's got to sort of really take the reins of that defensive line and be a leader. It looks like he has, because even when he wasn't getting reps, he was off to the side working on one thing or another, or with one of the other guys or one of the young guys. Like you said, he looked impressive.
Yeah, he's the leader of that D line right now. I mean, even
no
Walter
question.
Nolan or not, he might not have the highest ceiling of all those guys because he's a little bit on the shorter side and stocky. But Motor was good yesterday, and Rakes, I think Rakes' motor's good. I think those two short, squatty guys are going to cause some damage.
They're very similar body styles, but McKinley's got a little bit more oomph to his right?
Yeah. He looked quicker than he has in the past. Man, that guy was quick. Yeah. Getting around those.
Remember his freshman year when he came out and he every once in a while he shows spurts of that quickness, right?
Yeah, we're like, who the hell is this guy? We talked about him all year.
Yesterday, it was a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
So those weren't the only guys, because Marcus Burris looked good, 91 inside, looked real good. On the edges, there was a number of guys that, man, you want to talk about body types.
Some young guys look good out there.
Jamar Stewart.
Who's that number 4?
Jamar Stewart.
Oh, that guy, he's something special right there. That is that's scary how good I think that guy's going to be. I mean, is he a defensive end or a tackle? Which one do they have him listed as?
He's a defensive end, or they've been playing him at a defensive end at least.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I don't know how fast he is, but he was in the backfield a few times.
On top of that, Lucas also, as a freshman, looked really good out there and had some opportunities. Adelier.
Who's number 10? What's number 10? What's his name?
Fidel Diggs. Yeah.
Okay, he looked pretty good.
Fidel Diggs out there a bunch too, and another guy. He's a little bit longer, a little bit leaner, but looks strong. Right.
Mm-hmm.
My question with Fidel: is he going to be able to turn some of that lean length into explosiveness off the ball and get some pressure off the edge? But man, running against this group is going to be impossible because there's so much size and strength in there with all those guys.
Yeah, exactly, man. There's a lot of size, a lot of strength, and I mean the freshmen. Some of those guys look like they're ready to contribute like ASAP. That Stewart kid you're talking about, he was very impressive. We didn't get a chance to see Nolan there. That number 15 that was injured also, he was on the sideline. He looked like a big kid. A lot of the 5 stars, I don't think.
Well, Jamar Turner. I don't think Jamar Turner was out on the field yesterday either, was he?
98?
5.
95? No, I don't remember seeing him.
No, isn't it number 5?
No, I don't remember seeing him at all.
Yeah. I don't think I saw Jamar
I'm sure
Turner
we would have
out
talked
there.
about. I'm sure we would have talked about him too. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he's done to his body over year 2. That's another good one, man. No, I didn't see him.
And that's the thing. There was still bodies missing, right? There was still bodies missing. Golly, the depth is incredible. incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it when they were doing practice too. I mean, they were getting after the quarterback, but they were holding up. If it was full pads, go time, they would have had quite a few sacks, I think. I mean, they rushed them in passes, and the passes, like we said, they get some pressure, they're going to cause some bad passes, and all three of our quarterbacks doing the coverage, picks. And they were all in consecutive order.
Are in there. They're in there. They're active. They're moving. They're hitting balls. They're hitting it. I mean, they're up in it.
Right.
I'll tell you this. Obviously they have to play within the scheme. They have to do those things to make sure that they stay disciplined and all that stuff. And 100%. They are going to take a little time to catch up to where things were from last year with that group, especially with Johnson, with Clemens, with Leal, and the pressure that they were able to bring on quarterbacks specifically. But this group is as talented as that group. And in time will probably be more talented than that group if they can stay with it and work their butts off to get there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck running on this defense with those guys up front.
Right.
And to round it off, let's go to the linebackers, because I think this one right here, he is the best linebacker we've had on this campus in a while. Cooper was phenomenal yesterday.
Yeah, Cooper's very good, very talented. He looked great. I mean, even in coverage, when he dropped back, he looked good. I mean, he's reading well. He's fluid. His body, he moves well.
I know I've previously said something different. This defense is going to be better this year.
I'm not sure about better. I think they'll be better because of the linebackers. I'm worried about the depth at linebacker, because after Cooper and White, I think there's a substantial drop-off.
Chris Russell looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big drop-off.
He looks good in pads, buddy.
I almost hope that some of the secondary guys we're talking about being bigger, if they, they pull White or Cooper out, that they almost put extra defensive back in there to take their spot.
Oh, and
those other guys look a little lost.
It wouldn't be anything to move Antonio Johnson into basically a linebacker spot and bring another corner out there on out into the.
You could almost put Richardson in one of those spots. That guy's so jacked up. You could put him up there.
Or Damani, the same thing, right? And bring out another, because they still got bodies in the secondary, guys. We didn't even talk about Josh Moten. We didn't even talk about Harmon and all these other guys, right? I mean, there's still a ton of other bodies, and not to mention some of the young guys that Smoke, that we didn't hit on. Bobby Taylor, who I think is going to be out for a little while, but eventually will be joining the group as well.
Miles
Matthews,
Jones,
who was out
limped off. Yesterday. Miles is one of our, he's been there for years, it seems like.
Oh, George, who did he looked pretty decent yesterday in practice.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of reps.
So I mean, you got a ton of talent, and like I said, I don't think there's going to be a lot of drop off, because the only thing I'm worried about is the D line getting pressure on the quarterback. But I'm not as worried about it after seeing Jackson. Our pressure is going to come from the interior, and that quarterback's going to be moving all over the field. And we got enough speed at linebacker between White and Cooper to get after them. If they don't, we got enough speed in the secondary. We got speed everywhere. It's the fastest A&M team I've seen in a long time. Athletic. Yeah. Most athletic team I've seen in a long time. I don't remember another athletic team like this where you and I have gone, wow, every position. And we're talking tight ends. We're going, wow. We're going wide receivers, wow. Running backs. I mean, Achaine's off the charts. But then you got Daniels and Johnson and it's just talent. I mean, and they're all different. It's not like the same player. It's not like you're replacing, L.J. Johnson with – he's different than Achane. He's gonna give you something different. Every one of these guys is different. It's awesome.
And
another thing, we didn't even talk about the kickers. You remember that kicker kicking? He was kicking the ball 60 yards damn near. I mean, it was crazy.
Davis. Yeah. Davis was nailing them. And right through the middle.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, that was like 10, 15 yards deep.
Constantino, the punter, is going to be a Ray guy, right? I mean, he was booming those things. Just incredible. The specialists are unbelievable too.
So it goes back to what we said the whole time. Jimbo, just don't screw it up. I mean, you're going to have big games against other teams.
Correct.
Talent-wise, I cannot imagine, unless you put Alabama and Georgia on the field with our guys, and if you do, they might be a 1A, but we're right there beside them. I mean, if they're running a 4.5, we're running a 4.6. I mean, we're right on their ass.
As much physical talent, natural talent as anybody in the country, and that includes Alabama and Georgia. There's no way anybody can tell me any different. I've been to a lot of A&M practices. I've seen those groups. There has never been this collection of talent on a field ever on this campus, period.
Yeah. And we got more guys that didn't suit up yesterday that have talent that we didn't even talk about. I mean, you got 10 players that, I mean, you said their names, but we didn't get to see them play. And add that talent to what you're already talking about. It's just the only position I see needs depth, and we already got some coming in, is linebacker. Offensive line could always use some more, but quarterback looks solid because we got 3 guys that can do something. I mean, that's a weak position right now, I think, is quarterback. Out of any position we have, is quarterback is the weakest position we have on the field.
That says a lot. And
I mean, it's scary.
And I don't even know that it's the talent at the quarterback position. It may
it's
be
not the
coach.
Talent. Right.
Here's another reason I'm going to tell you that I think that this defense is actually going to be better than last year. And this is something that I heard DJ Durkin say yesterday. One is he's done his different schemes. He's done 3-man, 4-man. One of the worries that I had when he was the hire was that he's played a lot of 3-man, a ton of 3-man. And, you know, one of the things he said yesterday was, you know what? We are going to make our scheme fit our players defensively.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do.
And this is what we have here. These are the guys we have here. We're extremely talented up front with defensive line and depth and bodies. These guys are bought in, and we're gonna adjust our scheme to them, not the other way around. And
that's smart.
That's good coaching right there. That's good coaching.
Yeah. It's great.
And I like that. I like to hear that from him. It also sounds like he's going to simplify things a little bit and let them play a little bit more aggressive, which I also like. So I think this defense is going to be better. The other guy that I loved hearing from was Elijah Robinson, by the way. And Elijah Robinson is an incredible asset to this Texas A&M team and coaching staff. That dude is a strength of the program, man. You listen to him talk, you just feel like getting in there and going to play for him, you know. Not to mention he's so knowledgeable, very intelligent, knows what he's talking about. You can tell that he's got a great rapport with the athletes. Unbelievable. I would hire Elijah Robinson as my defensive coordinator, and in a couple of years as my head coach, I would do it.
I hear you.
All right, Corey, let's go. Questions from the tailgate, brought to you by Rawson Distributing, assisting Aggies with all their drilling needs. All right, after watching practice, who is someone that stood out that you were not expecting to stand out?
Oh, I've said it over and over. That tight end Green, I thought he stood out to me. Just I wasn't expecting that kind of speed, athleticism coming from a tight end. His size, that's on the offensive side. And on the defensive side, I mean, the guys we mentioned stood out, like Mckinley Jackson. Really, I mean, we talked about him, about, you know, he needs a big year, but watching him yesterday was very impressive.
Defensively, I mentioned him earlier. Gilbert, I didn't expect him to come out as like he did, and man, he really, really impressed me. I think he really solidifies that safety group. And we've got another guy in Bryce Anderson right behind him that's going to take the spot of Antonio Johnson once Antonio decides to turn it pro. You know, he's going to jump right in there. I'm excited about those safeties, man, because they showed that they are probably the strongest position on the team. Unbelievable. And on the offensive side, I've said it multiple times, man, Wyckoff keeps impressing me. Wyckoff performs every day he's out there with that first group. I don't know why he's not in contention for a spot on that offensive line, a starting spot on that offensive line. The guy has been solid every time he's practicing against one of the best defensive lines in the country. from at A&M. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying.
Question number 2. What is the biggest factor for this team to compete for SEC West Championship? Compete. Not win. Compete.
Just the same thing that we've been talking about. It's coaching and quarterback play will be the big. We can't do turnovers, man. I'm worried about Haynes and turnovers. What we saw yesterday, all the quarterbacks threw interceptions, threw picks. Decision making needs to be better. Quarterback play needs to be better. That's the only thing I like about Max. I think he might be a little bit safer with the ball, but like you said, he's not going to take the chances downfield, which I'm not really sure we need to take the chances. I mean, in the past, we probably needed to. This team is so deep. Those athletes we have, I mean, a 5-yard out is going to turn into 15, 20 yards like Jimbo said in the past, but we have a lot more talent now than what I've seen in the past. This is very impressive. Go ahead. What you got?
I don't know, man. I do know. I do.
Doesn't this guitar sound so?
I really believe you're 100% correct in the sense that it's all going to be about the offensive play call.
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest determination. I do think we still need some explosive plays. This
I think we need
is
some.
Be ridiculously good, and A-Chain's going to be great, and the running game's going to be a lot better.
I'll change an explosive play waiting to happen.
The difference between competing for a championship and being 9-3 is at least some explosive plays from that passing game, right? To get safeties back out of the box and allow the running game to do what it has to do. And they have the receivers and the tight ends and the athletes to do it. All they got to do is go do it.
So
call the plays.
Real quick, another question. What after watching them practice and all the talent you saw, what do you think we're going to do this year, record-wise? Are we going over? Are we going over on the win total? Over 8.5?
We can't give up all our secrets today, Corey.
Man, I guess I'll have to come back next week.
I guess so, man. I guess so.
All right,
Corey, gig 'em, buddy.
All right, buddy.
AP Corey signing out from the tailgate.